Hello, Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo, Ann Arbor, the whole state of Michigan. Calling all Michiganders, my friends at Bet Parks have you covered with the Play Gun Lake Casino and Sportsbook app. All your favorite casino games that you can take on the go, odds and slots and bets and games, all in the palm of your hand. Grand Rapids, I had a wonderful speaking engagement and couple of days in Grand Rapids.
I remember that. You loved it.
Yeah, I stumbled into the Gerald Ford Museum.
Now you have another reason to go.
Yeah, the Play Gun Lake Casino and Sportsbook. That's the only app I recommend in Michigan. New users, join me now. Get up to $1,000 casino bonus back if you're not a winner in the first 24 hours. Roulette, Baccarat, Texas Hold'em, all from the comfort of your home. The Play Gun Lake Casino and Sportsbook app, it's got all your favorite casino games and your favorite progressive slots. There's never been a better time to play than right now. New users get up to $1,000 casino bonus back if you're not a winner in the first 24 hours. The Play Gun Lake Casino and Sportsbook app, it's your time to play. New users only. Casino bonus has to be wagered. Terms and conditions apply. See the website at playgunlake.com for details. Got to be 21 and in Michigan. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or Michigan Problem Gambling Helpline 1-800-270-7117. Time now for more headlines from Smerconish.com, the newsletter. The top story is the fact that Ron DeSantis uniquely via Twitter, not sure how this is going to, it's not really look, it's going to be sound because it's going to be audio, but he's getting in, and he's getting in, as I've said earlier, at a time when Trump is in a seemingly commanding position against this growing field, like we're headed now toward a field the size of 2016's Republican primaries. But danger, Will Robinson, danger lurks ahead for Donald Trump. DeSantis is going to do this via Twitter. It just occurred to me, I'm supposed to be, one never knows if the commitments come off, but I'm supposed to be on with Wolf Blitzer in the 6 p.m. hour,
tonight,
which is when this is going to go down.
Oh.
To talk about DeSantis.
Okay, so I know that if we were on radio, we would simulcast, you would talk about it. How does it work?
I have no idea.
I don't know. And it's, okay, yeah.
Same time. It's at the same time tonight that Ron DeSantis will be interviewed by Elon Musk and a Musk confidant named David Sachs, and we'll be talking about it, and I believe it's audio only, so will we tap in and listen? I just don't know.
I'll be tuning into CNN.
I just don't know. Big story, by the way, in the New York Times print edition, page 1 today, that says this: a key political group supporting Ron DeSantis' presidential run is preparing a $100 million voter outreach push so big it plans to knock on the door of every possible DeSantis voter at least 4 times in New Hampshire, Nevada, and South Carolina, and 5 times in Iowa. Do you want any campaign knocking on your door that many times? By the way, just given the recent incidents with people knocking on doors and homeowners who are, well stocked, causing
itchy
incidents.
Trigger fingers.
Yeah, I mean,
makes you nervous.
Anyway, back to my central point about Ron DeSantis, and it is this: not that long ago, Donald Trump was fading. Ron DeSantis was on the ascent. And there was only about 10 or 15 points that separated them. Now Trump is up 30. Why is that the case? It's the case because of reaction to Alvin Bragg's indictment of Donald Trump and a couple of missteps by DeSantis, the comments that he made about Ukraine being a territorial dispute, fighting with Disney, 6-week abortion ban. Now Trump's lead has widened over DeSantis. What's interesting is that Trump stands consistently, because all these polls are telling the same story. Trump stands at about 50% of the Republican vote. So why are all these candidates getting in? Why is Ron DeSantis not saying, hey, I'm in my 40s. I'm a 2-term Florida governor. I'm a young guy. I've got 3 decades of presidential runs if I need that time, if I need that runway. Why would I get into the cage with the tiger now? Why is Tim Scott getting in? Why is Nikki Haley, Vivek Ramaswamy, Asa Hutchinson? Why are they all getting in? Why might Chris Christie get in? Why is Larry Elder getting in? Why is Glenn Youngkin, according to a story that we have today at Smerconish.com from Axios, contemplating getting in? I mean, Trump is a former president, and he's at 50%. Why are we going to run against him? It's because of the danger that lurks. Yesterday, Trump had to make remotely an appearance in a New York City courtroom where a trial date was set of March 25. This is in connection with the Stormy Daniels criminal prosecution, which comes smack dab in the middle of the primary season, just after Super Tuesday. If the schedule next year resembles what it was the last time we had a competitive Republican primary, which was 2016, Trump must be in that courtroom. Judge told him, all parties will be here. So it's not like the civil case where he decided that he wasn't going to be. He's got to be there. So, okay, you're saying that's the Alvin Bragg case. Big deal. You know, there was blowback, Michael. You just said it yourself. That's why Trump has increased his lead over DeSantis. Okay, but a criminal prosecution where he's got to physically sit in that courtroom in the midst of the nomination process. Now factor in that Fani Willis, a couple of weeks ago, writes a letter in Fulton County, Georgia, to the sheriff and says, hey, I just want you to know, I got some big stuff coming in between July and September. I believe the only reason Fani Willis writes to the sheriff is if the big stuff includes Donald Trump.
Because what else would rise to that?
I don't think any other prosecutions from the Georgia vote would cause her to say we might need reinforcement.
Right. Well, and Trump is rallying the troops on Truth Social. I mean, he yesterday and still, as of today, just completely off the rails.
Totally. And why? Because the Washington Post has a story. We have it at Smerconish.com today about how the Trump Jack Smith Mar-a-Lago prosecution is at a close. So that would appear to be imminent. And here's another sign that it's imminent. Trump's lawyers have requested a meeting with the Attorney General. So that's your answer. The answer as to why, if you simply look at the polls and he's a former president, he's at 50%, why is everybody getting in? It's because of all of the legal entanglements. We have no idea what's about to unfold. Remember, it's not a prediction, but it's a thought. Maybe when all is said and done, neither of the two frontrunners right now are at the top of their ticket. This DeSantis announcement is the tip of the iceberg of what is shaping up to be the most chaotic presidential cycle since I began paying attention in 1980. More headlines now from Smerconish.com, the newsletter. TC, yesterday we had Professor Scott Galloway on the program because it's the season, commencement season. There was an essay that caught my eye in the New York Times talking about the age-old wisdom to graduates. Follow your passion. We asked, is it sound advice to tell graduates to follow their passion? More than 19,000 voted. 75% said, yes, it is.
I thought that was very interesting.
Professor G didn't agree.
Right.
He said, be wary.
Yeah.
Wary.
I think they're wary versus weary.
Passion.
I think it's both complicated and nuanced, and it's sort of an and, as so many things are. If you follow your passion, and that can also lead to financial security and a good work-life environment, great. But if you're just following your passion and it's not going to do anything for you, then have that be a side hobby.
Professor Galloway said workshop in your 20s.
I love that.
Workshop in your 20s. Figure out what you're good at and get passionate about that which you excel in doing.
I thought that was really
That was his
interesting.
advice.
Yeah.
He's a great guest.
I like to sing. I'm not going to make it as a singer. You know what I'm saying?
Totally. Rich Tao and Matt Steffi have a good piece of exclusive content at Smerconish.com today. More of their swing voter analysis. The short version is that they found more voters leaning toward Democrats in hypothetical matchups. You'll want to pay attention to that. I'd never heard of the box theory before.
I think this is her thing. Like, in other words, I'm not sure the box theory is a thing.
It's a thing now.
I know it's a thing now, but I don't think it was a thing earlier.
What are we talking about?
So this headline from USA Today, when should you have sex with someone new? Consider box theory before deciding.
Whack, whack.
And this
box
is,
theory,
stop,
really?
Just stop. So this is about Tinx, T-I-N-X, who's a TikTok influencer. Are we this hip and cool now at Smerconish.com?
No. Well, we have the story.
We do have the story.
Yeah.
By the way, quite a mix of stories at Smerconish.com.
It's a hell of a day.
It is.
The headlines are great, and I take personal pride in them. them. So thank you.
You should. Especially this one, The Box Theory from Tinks, who's a TikTok influencer and the author of a new book called The Shift, Change Your Perspective, Not Yourself. And what she says is that when a guy meets a girl in a social setting, so it's a dating app or a blind date or something like that, he immediately puts her into one of three boxes.
What are they?
They are either she is someone he wants to date, she is someone he wants to sleep with, or she is someone he wants to have nothing to do with. And do not try to move yourself out of one of those boxes. Don't. Because her point is, the only thing he wants to do is sleep with you and doesn't want to date you, and you're trying so hard to have him want to date you, don't. Because you deserve someone who wants to date you so much. So she's saying, like, question. Stay in the box.
I have a question.
Yes. Pandora's box. So many things we could say.
I don't think that's what she had in mind. Those that you want to date.
Yes.
Don't you want to sleep and date?
Correct. But I think the point is it's not like an immediate and only. So it's like only sleep with. I mean,
so what is the point here? The point is this an advisory for women just to know, hey, it's one of three things that he's putting you into?
She says if he wants to date you, he's going to want to date you no matter how you act, no matter what you say, and vice versa. If he just wants to hook up with you, you can try your hardest and try to manipulate your way into the date box, but you just can't.
In other words, you can't move from the pure sleep back to the date box.
Correct. And she says it's freeing and empowering. Quote, you shouldn't try to manipulate someone into wanting to date you. You shouldn't have to, because everyone deserves someone who's interested in them and obsessed with them. That's available to everyone if you just don't settle for less.
Okay, so if you're in the dismissal box, it's over. We don't have to think about that.
Right. No. She's saying it's over no matter what.
Yeah. The dismissal. There's no sleeping. There's no dating. In the easy category.
Right.
All right. You're out. Let me go back now for just a moment.
You go back.
Go
back to when you were in the Irish pub.
I'm so antiquated, I can't even remember. So if you are in the sleep box, you're not getting into the date box.
Right. That's her point.
But if you're in the date box, then sleep will follow.
Presumably.
Right.
Depending. When mutually acceptable.
Does this make sense to you?
You report, I decide, I report, you decide, that's what we're doing here.
Another headline from Smerconish.com comes from Pew Research. Young adults, we've talked so much about related issues to this. Young adults in the U.S. reaching key life milestones later than in the past. Adults who are 21 are less likely than their predecessors 4 decades ago to have reached 5 frequently cited milestones of adulthood: having a full-time job, being financially independent, living on their own, getting married, and having a child. By the time they're 25, however, today's young adults are somewhat closer to their predecessors in 1980 on 2 of those milestones, having a full-time job and financial independence. It's taking longer to reach those milestones. I don't think this is totally COVID related, but COVID impacted for sure.
For sure it did. I mean, it impacted everything that we do. But I find this completely fascinating, having sort of drilled into Emma's head since she was a little girl. 20s are for work, 30s are for family. Have I contributed to the pushback later? Who knows?
Well,
she's 25.
One of the other factors, because more are in college, by definition, it's pushing things back. More are still in school. I'll just read it. One factor that has contributed to fewer 21-year-olds having full-time jobs is the increase in college enrollment over the past 4 decades. Today, almost half of 21-year-olds are enrolled in college, whereas 3 in 10 were enrolled in 1980.
Wow.
So big change on that front. There's a story at Smerconish.com today. Again, 'tis the season, school's shutting down, getting ready for summer, that I found really interesting. A professor at MIT given a standing ovation by his students after completing his final lecture after 63 years of teaching.
63
and over
years.
10 million views on his online lectures. But I've buried what I think is the lead, and that is the subject matter. It was his last linear algebra lesson. And what I'm saying, drawing significance from, is like, if you could make linear algebra anything mathematically, and maybe I'm just speaking for myself. I mean, if it were, I don't know, a literature professor, if it were a government professor, a philosophy, psychology, but to go into the STEM field and be so recognized and get that kind of an ovation, I think that's huge.
This is fascinating to me. So it's MIT. So of course the linear algebra and differential equations are going to be more interesting.
What?
Right, exactly. But yeah, I think that is a reflection on those of us who lean more towards the more liberal arts as opposed to the STEM, that we're like, wow.
Good for him.
63 years, 10 million views online of his online lectures. Just incredible.
Something else significant. There's an annual survey. It's by Axios and Harris of reputations of businesses. And when they looked at who's the most thought highly of, did I get that right?
Who's thought the most highly of?
There you go.
Who is, yeah.
Grocers.
Yes.
Grocers. Grocery stores are riding reputational highs 2 years after the start of COVID-19, with regional chains in particular being recognized for weathering the supply chain storm. At the same time, the pandemic era halo many industries enjoyed are beginning to normalize. Here are your top 5. And this is of all businesses, but you're going to see how it's dominated by some grocers. Trader Joe's number 1.
That doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me just from the attitude of being there. There's one in very close proximity to us.
Yeah.
I go all the time.
Good vibe.
There's always a good feeling. Always.
Heb Grocery. I didn't know it. TC didn't know it. It's because it's in the Southwest.
Based in San Antonio.
Patagonia.
Again.
Patagonia.
Yes.
Hershey.
How about that?
Wegmans.
Doesn't surprise me either.
That is
place
your top
great.
5. Now, when I saw that, I wondered, okay, what about Publix?
Where's
Interestingly, this year, groceries dominate the top 100. 3 grocers: Trader Joe's, Heb Grocery, Wegmans in the top 5, as I said. 2 other grocery chains, Publix and Kroger, also among the top 25. I think Publix is great. I've been a big fan in Florida of Publix.
People love Publix.
I am a big fan of a regional grocer, McCaffrey's.
Oh.
Which I know Jim, who's like the founder and the proprietor, we raised 9/11 funds together. That's how I know him.
Wow.
Yeah. And they are coming into my area.
I know. I've heard. When is that? Top
soon.
Soon. Yeah.
And it's going to like the neighbors don't know, because I know of their other stores, like how special they are.
Is it prepared
McCafferty's.
food?
They have prepared food. It's just clean. It's nice, and
okay.
They run a really tight ship.
I can't wait to go check it out.
Yeah. So it's so that's great. Okay. How about this? See if it sounds familiar. Walmart and Target have been dropped from a national recycling program. Why, TC?
So I died at this one. So an ABC News investigative team put air trackers into the plastic bag recycling at Target and Walmart. Similar to exactly what we were talking about here, except for the description of how they did it is a little bit more,
Super glue.
Right. Quote, "We glued air tags into plastic bags with Gorilla Glue, then wrapped them into several other plastic bags. All of the bags were dropped off at Target and Walmart stores nationwide, which have hundreds of stores with plastic bag drop-off bins." You can picture them. You have all the bags in one bag and then you stuff them in. "At the end of January, we dropped off our 4 bags in cities and suburbs, monitored the movements and locations for months via the trackers glued inside." So, would you like to know where they ended up?
Yes.
One of our AirTag plastic bags that was dropped off at a Target ended up in a landfill in Wilmington, about 60 miles southwest of Chicago. The company that runs the landfill said there's no plastic bag recycling at that location. So, guess what? Not recycled. The second bag, dropped off at a Target on the city's southwest side, ended up at a waste management facility in Cicero. A waste management media spokesperson said trash and recycles are sorted at the facility, but there's no metal detection sorting that would separate the tracker, and there's no plastic bag recycling program.
Right. Bottom line.
2. Right.
But some did make it on a slow boat to China.
Literally, some make it on a slow.
Yeah.
In fact, 3 trackers were shipped to the other side of the world in Southeast Asia. Only 4 of the trackers ended up in facilities involved with recycling plastic bags.
So there it is on my iPhone. People maybe can see on YouTube my tracking attempt. Last seen December 12, 2022, 2:51 p.m. in Birdsboro, Pennsylvania, in a landfill. So I don't know. Did my AirTag get crunched? Is this where it still exists? I don't know. I don't know. But
Yeah.
for a while, it looked like I was going to be able to really track this.
We thought it was on the
I
move.
loved the idea.
I know.
I loved the idea.
Well, I must say that I zeroed in on that at Smerconish.com today because I thought it was so
the
interesting.
headlines are great. I hope you're a subscriber to the daily newsletter. Poll question today: should a sports announcer's unintentional use of the N-word cost him his job? Glenn Kuiper, an Oakland Athletics announcer of 20 years. He's with the team. They're in Kansas City. They're playing the Royals. That day, he goes to the, I'm so damn nervous even reporting the story. He goes to the Negro League Museum. And when in the broadcast, he shares the fact that he'd been at the museum. That's not the way it came out. Fired. Unintentional. Yeah, what a story, man. Read that at Smerconish.com before you vote on today's poll question. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching, more importantly, for listening here on SiriusXM's POTUS Channel.